Pranayama versus modern lifestyle. Pranayama means breathwork. Right. So sure, you ought to be doing that because you can breathe, but you can also consciously breathe. And then learn how to breathe properly. And then see the difference this is going to make for your entire life. So yes, smoking and breathing, and then learning when it is time to breathe more and when it's time to breathe less, and then to react to the way you feel through breath. And that takes a lot of time. And now I'm going to release you into the recording in which I only realized later that I was recording this. But it became apparent when I was drawn into the direction of pranayama. And then I realized, oh, that's what I'm doing. Pranayama versus modern life style. Whatever. Yeah. No, it's not whatever. It's actually, people should learn how to breathe. And if you know how to breathe, and people try to force you into taking some kind of a treatment, then you just breathe and say, hey, you know, I've got no problems because I know how to breathe. You know, it's all about the breath, man. It's all about the breath, right? I don't think I've ever filmed here. There's something to be learned. First of all, yeah, I'm eating out of an old yogurt carton. Okay, the lesson is, first of all, I am still filling this space with life and energy. So I'm leaving traces of myself. So sometimes I eat there, sometimes I eat there, sometimes I eat there. I don't know. Because I'm all the time alone, so you feel like you need change. Yeah, I've recorded part of making this food. It's just milk rice with apple mousse. It's part of... Okay, now I have to think. Oh my god. Oh yeah. Something with boredom. Boredom? Oh. The sensation of boredom. And I always hear all of these things people tell themselves just because they're too afraid to accept something. Let's say a young woman falls in love with a man, but the man is like
full on stallion. I mean, shaboom. I mean, if it comes to roots, he'd be more like horseradish, right? Rather than beetroot. Why? Simply because he's got spice. He's hot. He's got fire. But now the woman is also a daughter and is in a way afraid that her father might not approve of this man, because maybe this daughter was raised to please, or maybe she likes to please. I mean, we all like to please, but who do you want to please? You know, I rather please nature. I rather please my purpose than to please idiots. I mean, if I'd be pleasing my parents all the time, I mean, I'd be doing nothing else. Plus, it's always dishonest. Always. There's people who want to please all the time. Well, why do they do it? Because then they'll just get all the thank yous. So it's also selfish. You know, if you like pleasing, let's say, let's just stick with the sexual stuff. Let's say a woman loves giving blowjobs. So she loves doing it. What does she get out of it? Well, your penis is like a staff, like a rod. That is like energy. So if I orally please a woman, I also get something out of it. It's not just arousal, it's also something else. But as some of us may know, for anyone who had a one-sided relationship, which some of us may have had and then moved on from, or are still in it, I've left it behind. Is that you do the pleasing, right? So you like to give. So you keep giving. It's like, oh yeah, I love giving so much. And the woman always receives, right? You're kind of quite good at performing oral sex. I'm just saying. And she takes it. It's like, oh yeah, yeah. And you always, you give her massages. You like take her whole body and you stroke her and you're gentle with her. I have talked about these things before, I know that. But seeing that there's a lot of content, I can just talk about it again. Because I feel like it's important. I mean, if you are in a relationship, I mean, you should take this seriously. I mean, if you want the man or the woman to stick around, and the man or the woman keeps giving, and you just receive, then at one point, the giving will stop. Unless you give back. I mean, I've been in relationships where the woman just took it all, and when I tried to do something for myself, she'd say, well, why don't you give this energy to us? I'm like, you serious? I mean, of course, I'm stuck in the experiences I have made thus far in terms of relationships. the relationships I am having right now are all very distant. I'm mostly on my own. Because I'm busy. Or I keep myself busy so that people will stop annoying me. Like, neighbors. I mean, I'm not nice. That's what I've just talked about in the sensation of boredom. I'm not nice to people who gossip, like overly nice. I'm not gonna tell you where I'm going and stuff, because you're gonna use that information and you're going to create hardship for me. So I'm not gonna give you anything any longer, you know? Nothing. I'm not gonna spend time talking to you because I know that when the conversation is over, you're gonna go back to your lair. I'm serious about this. You're gonna go back to your lair because everything has a spiritual dimension. Everything, even Sokka from Avatar, the series, and Katara have spiritual dimensions. It's not just the Avatar. There's never just one Avatar. We all have connections to the spiritual realm. And in that sense, it does not matter whether you're some kind of special kid. Or maybe it does, who's to say? I don't really know. And even if it matters, it's too complicated to understand it anyway. I mean, I've just listened to about an hour of the Silmarillion, and you think, how could the guy read this? I mean, I'd fall asleep. I get bored reading Alice in Wonderland. I mean, if that's not full of life, but the Silmarillion? How can you, it's interesting, but the only thing I want to know is Gandalf's background. But he just keeps all these names, but that's the spiritual side, right? You know, somebody cries, somebody does this, somebody is somebody's husband, somebody is somebody's wife, you know, somebody is somebody's Romeo, somebody is somebody's whatever. You're my enemy, you're my this. I don't care what you think I am to you. But if I go into the garden and I'm doing my gardening, leave me alone. I have to say very little to trigger you. And you cannot trigger me at all. Sure, if I hear you say things like you think I'm a nutter, it kind of touches me. But look who's talking, right? Look who's talking. All I have to say is, I don't see you leading an active lifestyle. All you do is walk your dog and then sit around. I feel sad that your life is the way it is. But I have opened you the door and I have said, you could do an anorganic sulfur cleanse. And the response was, well, would that make me young again? I was like, well, probably. Well, I cannot see her do this, so what does it really matter? I mean, I hear people talk on the phone, but I hear what we may call their shadow working spells. So what? I mean, if you need to smoke to do your mojo, then you're weak. Because this could be done in all kinds of ways, but your smoking is blocking your channels, which means everything you do has no life in it because you're dead. I mean, if I look at how little I've smoked in comparison to some people who've smoked for years, how little I've smoked in comparison to people who've smoked for years, and still how long it took me to get back to like the yogi kind of self. But I'm not just a yogi. I am a lot of things, and I'm still fiddling around with rapé in my mind. Because why should I never do it again? Sometimes you just want to see. But what portals would it open? Well, that's hard to say. If I felt the need, I'd do it. At the moment, it feels like maybe I have a different purpose. But I think it's part of my way. I don't think I should be restricted more than necessary. Nothing should become a habit that you feel like you have to do. I shouldn't feel like I have to hike every day. I shouldn't feel like I have to have wine at home all the time. Why? I mean, you buy one bottle now and then you drink it. Maybe you take 2 to 3 days to drink it, whatever. And then you just do not buy wine. Maybe for half a year, and then you buy a bottle again. And so you can do it with rapé. And so you can do it with lots of other things. But in a sense, yes, rapé is something you can do simply with breath work. So now I'm talking about Pranayama versus modern life. Or maybe that's the next one. Because that's one of the recordings. Because now I haven't started with it. But it was a good lead over, right? So breath is something I always have. I can always do it. to transcend myself, but sometimes it feels super heavy. So just after what happened today, it was right, I went shopping. My neighbor, her husband, I mean, he's basically, I think he's like dead. I mean, he had a bad back. Instead of doing something, he just went to have surgery. So, last stages of extraction, they're just gonna suck him dry. Well, he just sat around and his wife was taking him apart. That's just the sad story. He was barely alive anyway. So now he had a surgery, cannot walk anymore, kind of like bedridden. Now she's got nobody to keep her in check or something. I don't really know, right? I don't know what their kind of relationship they have had. But at least they had each other, and now he's just gone. So she's trying to tussle with me. Well, bad choice, woman. Because I'm not your friend. Neither am I your enemy. To you, I'm literally a nobody. I mean, I'm more like just your neighbor. You know, I've tried the friendly thing, but then it showed that nobody's really friendly. So, all I have to do is keep you in check. You pissed me off a couple of times. Well, did you help me or did you not help me? I realized that you're just gonna use me. And I don't like it. Because if I would have somebody use me, I'd rather have a young wife using me and then make children together. But you're old, and all I'm gonna get from you is cake and very tired ears, right? So I'm sorry. You've had your chance for a good life, and you serve the social state, so that's it. So pranayama versus modern life, what's this about? Well, you gotta breathe. But where do you want to breathe? Because if you do your breath work next to one of the main roads, I mean, I don't know. The thing is, does it matter where you breathe? Well, apparently yes. I mean, there's areas where I breathe less. There's also moments where I hold my breath. But it often happens intuitively, but you cannot forget the amount of time I have spent breathing already, practicing breath, practicing and experiencing, right, methods. I mean, I have already fainted several times during breath work. I mean, fainted. Once I fell off a chair. Once I did breath work, like breath holds, during an ayahuasca ceremony. And there I did not fall off a chair. And I literally stopped breathing. I even stopped, or I stopped, I don't know, but my breathing reflex stopped, and that was scary. Because you sit there, and you're just like this. Just like sometimes you have moments where you're not hungry, where you feel like you never have to eat again. Sometimes you have a moment where you feel like you never have to sleep again until you get tired. But I had this with breathing. I felt like zip. My desire to breathe was gone. It was just gone. I was in the ayahuasca ceremony, probably also smoked joints or something, I don't know, and I just had the feeling, hey, just let's try some breath holds. And so you breathe in, and then you breathe out, and then you hold the breath. And you just see how long you can do it. And I did that. You know, with full lungs, with empty lungs. And at some point, I was at this point where I just sat there. I just stopped breathing. I don't know for how long because time's relative. But I sat there, it was really long. I mean, there was no like, I have to breathe. Normally I have it like this a bit. Or I used to have it. It's like, I have to breathe. But I didn't have that. I just sat there like a flatliner or something. But just like this, I mean, I was holding my consciousness, I was sitting there, no breathing reflex. And then at some point I said, well, maybe it's better to just keep on breathing. And then I just started breathing again, but normal, not like, you know what I'm saying? So the weird thing is that how after I had such an experience and I had already done some breathing exercises and also holotrophic breathing. I did once where you just, for 3 hours, you lay on the ground, like people make music, boom, 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 boom. Then you sit there, you just do this, like the breath of fire or something, until something happens. So I just did that, and for a very long time nothing happened. And every time I stopped, somebody touched me, so I had to continue. And there was this moment where I don't know, at one point I was just gone. And then I opened my eyes and I was back. Where did I go? I don't know, man. But this is how it happened. So and what happened afterwards? Well, I don't know, something kind of left. Something was kind of different. But as it usually is, you're struggling with something and then it's suddenly gone. And sometimes you think it's gone and then it comes back. Right? Like I have this with masturbation. You think it's gone and then it comes back. And every time I think, did I do something wrong? What's this now? Am I alone because I drink coffee? That makes no sense, but maybe it does. Should I just stop eating and fast all the time? Should I just stop breathing? I mean, is it my fault that I'm alone? Because I thought we're also here together. I mean, when you're together with people and the energy is heavy and you do like, somebody says, what's your problem? It's like, what are you talking about? You just do, I mean, like a sigh of relief. It's heavy, you do this. What's your problem? It's like, what do you mean? Like, you cannot show any signs of I'm here when you're with specific people. They just wait for something, like the twitch of an eye, like, ah, and they're just gonna have a go at you. So what's breathwork? Well, there's so many levels to it. With what I mean, with which I mean. I just had this really heavy experience again. I just went to the garden and there's this tree. It's like some kind of like a piney needle thing. So how do you call Christmas trees? I don't know. It's not a Christmas tree, it's just right the way they market it. It's just slaughter. But it's like a very spiky tree that comes from the Andes, like a higher region or something, maybe very hot. And as so often, people started planting it here, but it doesn't belong here at all. It's just, it shouldn't be here. To me, it's a weed. Right? If it were my garden right now, I'd take it out, hack it to bits, chuck it. I wouldn't even take the time to burn it. To me, it's a weed. I don't know on what level, but it surely shouldn't be there. It's hostile to its environment. So I had the feeling it was taking too much space. It was like roots coming, like branches. It's taking too much space. But I'm not stupid. I knew that the previous owner planted it because seeing how big it already was, I could tell that it has been there already longer. So what I knew was, well, I cannot just take this out because I'm just doing the gardening. But I cannot just take stuff out. But I can clip things. And in this case, I felt like I'm just going to clip at the bottom. And if somebody says something, I'm going to say, well, it's so that it grows a bit higher. Right? That makes sense. Because otherwise, it'll just take too much space. I'm just saying, hey, let's just do it like this. It's just going to be more like a tree then. Than like a piney thing. And as soon as I had done it, the neighbor that lives at the bottom, right, with the husband gone or something, suddenly comes crawling out of her thing. And I know she has a thing for gossip and trying to wiggle information out of people, right? And then trying to be like a politician, bribe you by giving you compliments. Last time I said to her, you cannot buy me with words. So we were in this moment. She came out and she asked me what I did to that tree. And I was like, you mean the pine from the ants? In German it's called Andentanne. I said, well, it shouldn't be here at all, but I just pruned it, that's the word, to help it grow higher. So she couldn't say anything, right? She cannot call the landlady and say, because I know more about these things than she does and I can just explain it. And then she had another thing, because I had been pruning other things before, because sometimes things need pruning, otherwise they'll just take too much space. And I have been pruning a lot of hedges and stuff. It's like, wow, what did you do to this thing? You shouldn't have done that. I was like, what do you want from me, Mrs. What do you want from me? And then she was trying to get something, because I know what she wants. She wants to shame me, or she wants to take her anger out at me, or she wants to project something onto me that is not me, or she wants to trigger me so that she feels powerful, like throttle me, right? Or she wants to get information so that she can use it to harm me in certain ways. Because ever since I came here, she kind of lost her position of power, because she cannot push me around. She's tried a couple of times, so she's a bully, right? But she cannot push me around. And lots of people have tried already, but I'm very firm, right? And so in the end I triggered her, and then she was running around. He's crazy. Because I simply said to her, I have no interest to talk to you any longer. That's it. I ended the conversation, I just moved on, went about my business. And I came back here and I felt all this weight, her anger weighing on me. I can feel these things. And then I just did my stuff, cooked this food. And then I was standing there, breathe deep into the stomach and then press out. And it's the only way to describe this is how you transcend. You take something that's like having a hold over you and you push it through. You know, somebody's trying to bind you with their anger, have a hold over you, power over you with their anger, try to grip you in their minds and then make you squeal or something. And I simply do this exercise, and at some point it's gone. And then I'm free again. And then I can see clearly again. And then I feel at peace again. But it's very, very hard work. So this is power food with spices and, right, I cooked it myself. I know what's in there, it serves a purpose. There's also ginger in it and stuff. So it's just spiced milk rice with kind of like apple mousse with ginger and cinnamon. And the spiced milk rice has cloves, and nutmeg, and cardamom, and black pepper. So activating spices, and turmeric root, fresh turmeric. But I did this exercise a couple of times while standing. And then you just press up while holding your breath with full lungs. And you press out your chest, and every time I do that it's like bzzz. And sometimes I hear really buzzing in my ears. And the frequency, my frequency changes. It's a bit like I'm growing, right? Like my spiritual body is growing. Well, pranayama versus modern life. It's very important. So stop smoking and simply start breathing. And if you're smoking at the moment, then transitioning to breathing is a very hard choice, because it's easier to hold on to smoking, and it's hard to let go of smoking and to accept the ordeal of cleansing, because you're gonna start throwing out lots of stuff, man, that you've been holding on to. And it's going to come out in all kinds of ways, whatever, make art, be creative. But I could have never worked that stuff. I could have never done these things that I've been doing in the last couple of weeks if I had continued to smoke. I had to let go of smoking and simply accept that it's better to cleanse, to have clean meridians. But I still feel, to me, at this stage, rapé would just be for pleasure. That would be like drinking wine or smoking a cigarette, but then you shoot it into your nostrils. I cannot see if it really means that if I do rapé, what happens with the energy. Is it really just to get like a high? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. What really happens? And let's say you're in a marriage and there's your wife and now you've got children. Well, I believe, and that I feel like is the truth, that you cannot maintain this. Because if I imagine now I'm married, now I have a wife and children, if I do rapé, I may be knocked out flat for half an hour, right? I may be knocked out flat for half an hour. And then what happens to your spirit? I mean, in a way, rapé is a bit like masturbation. It's a bit selfish. So I think it's probably better to not do it. I mean, if all of this would be over, and let's say my children are grown up, and maybe, I don't know, who leaves first, me or my wife? Hard to say. Then you could pick it up again. But I feel like that, if you say, okay, I'm married, I have a wife, and now we're gonna have children, I mean, you have to maintain the space. But if you do rapé, it's a bit overkill. So you have to maintain the space. I'm already wondering about coffee, if you know what I mean. Let alone other psychedelics or things. I mean, I have stopped eating sugar just to be more balanced. So what are you gonna do? You see what I'm saying, right? So there are things you should just let go of. But what then about, let's say, fly agaric, Amanita muscaria tea or something? Is that okay? Hard to say, man. I really don't know. What I have experienced is that if you take these things, that everything gets a bit more vicious. Like U-turn, it activates your shadow. At the moment, to me, I feel like I have to be in the light. This is more like the Gandalf kind of thing. You're like in the light, incorruptible. But what I've learned is that if you take tobacco in whatever way, or also fly agaric to a certain degree, everything gets a bit more like underworld, shadow stuff. But if you have a wife and children, then you should simply be there, like this, in the light. And that takes some time to get there. My shadow is there anyway. If I've got a lot of light, my shadow is constantly trying to take over. And people underestimate it. they see someone and he looks like, oh wow, you know, I can maintain my space. I'm constantly channeling. But around me there's a vortex. And if you try to get into there, you won't like it. I mean, your body has to be able to withstand lots of pressure. This would be like standing somewhere, I don't know, in some kind of like a maelstrom. This is what channeling energy is about. In order to create, you have to take the darkness and the light in that sense and merge them together like this. But if I'm like this, creating, and you're like this, destructing, and you try to come into my space, I'm just going to swat you away, because also my vortex is stronger than yours. So we're talking about competing tornadoes now. Some people just don't get it. I mean, I'm here in this space, I'm on my own. But if I leave the house, it's all relative. I mean, I see people who are so super wobbly. I realize there's some people, they just want to be in my presence. They come closer to me. Yeah, I get it. But you have to do your homework. Right? I mean, if you feel like drawn to me, then you should start doing your homework, because you cannot all sit here in my space, because it would just annoy me, because that's also very disrespectful. So yeah, pranayama, when are you going to do it? Well, if I'd stand in the supermarket and I would be doing this, well, I'm not sure what actually happens in a spiritual way. I'm not sure what actually happens. It feels like I'm opening my heart, like my heart's space. And I'm probably not going to do that in a supermarket. You know, I'm probably going to do that in a safe space, because I have tested this. If you do it out on the streets, you don't know what's going to happen, because you may faint. And what happens if you faint? People are going to call an ambulance, and you're going to wake up somewhere, and you're going to have needles in your arms, like weird kind of shit. So you have to create a safe space for yourself, and then you have to start doing planks. Then you have to start cleansing. And then you have to get rid of weird habits and do your hardening, right? Hardening. And then simply make experiences. I mean, like I said, if you do breath work and breath holds, just be somewhere in the middle of your room and make sure you just sit on the ground and just make sure there's nothing in a 2-meter radius around you where you could hit your head or something, because you may actually faint. I mean, you can even put lots of pillows around you. I mean, I've had moments where I woke up and I realized the radiator was just 2 centimeters away from my head. I mean, I could have hit my head, but for some reason I didn't. I mean, I did it once on a chair and I just fell off the chair. I actually recorded it, but later deleted the video because I recorded it in somebody else's apartment. And I just literally fell off the chair and I had a blue eye after that. Well, I survived, but I could have fallen differently. I mean, I could have really like injured myself. Well, which I did, but you know, it just kind of toughened me up. So it's about learning how your body works and then seeing. This makes me nervous. I have to see how long I still have. Okay, this is almost over, 1% left. I'm just saying, yeah, just figure it all out. I mean, all the methods are out there. Just look at it. Just try a few things. You know, breath of fire. You know, breath holds. Just look it up. Maybe I'll be getting into it